Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. He'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. He'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
It's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand the truth.
Radio. We have. Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Today is March 13th, right here. So we have a sun sign in Aquarius and a Pisces and a moon sign in Leo. Just like yesterday, the transition going from the new moon sign will be tomorrow. So we have all day today in Leo. It's fire sign, so we have fire and water just like yesterday. Think of a pot on the stove with water in it. Water can boil if the fire's hot. It can get nice and warm, or it can evaporate, just depending on how those two things work together. Okay, or the water could overflow and it could put the fire out. So emotions can squash the ideas. Ideas can overwhelm the emotions. And we need to find a way to balance them out if we want them to be able to work together. We see this aspect here between our sun sign Pisces and Saturn, which is discipline. And this is later this afternoon around 4:15 p.m. And a triangle, remember, is a positive energy. So a nice positive energy between our sun sign and the way things are disciplined. So maybe in the way we find that we're able to organize our feelings, perhaps. And then later this evening, a couple hours after that, there's another lesson between our moon sign Leo and Saturn. Now Leo can be very prideful and boastful, and if it's going up against Saturn, the disciplinarian, and there's a lesson, which is the square, tells us there's a lesson that's there, important lesson, then well, those two things can run into each other head to head. Leo's pride and the Saturn's discipline, and well, big lesson learned there. So just kind of pay attention as this evening gets along on where you're going with your energy and people you're dealing with and so on. Okay? I mean, a lot of times we all think that, you know, we're all on top of this energy, and oftentimes we are on top of what's going on, but we deal with people every day. And when we interact with others, we don't know where their headspace is. And we know there's a lot of people out in the world that don't pay attention to what's going on, to the energies of the day. So just by paying attention, kind of puts you one step ahead of the game to understand a little bit more. So just some things to keep in mind. All right, today we have our map. It's going from the 13th to the 16th. It tells us that look to the left of the moon this evening. And we're going to see Regulus. It's the bottom star and the left handle of the sickle of Leo. Okay? So here we have Leo here. Here's Leo the lion right there. That's the very bottom part right here. So when we look at it, we're looking at like the bottom leg. We're calling it the sickle, but this would be like the bottom leg of the lion if we're looking at it, right? That'd be the head, leg. All right, so we got the moon and we got Regulus. Our moon phase currently is 91%. We're almost up to that full moon. We'll be there in just a couple of days. Mayan Oracle, we're going to get more into this today because it's important to understand this, but today's date is a wizard day, which is about timelessness. The guide for today is the dog, which is about loyalty, love, the heart. So we have timelessness guided by the heart. The tone for today is the self-existing tone. So today is the self-existing wizard guided by the dog. Self-existing timelessness guided by the heart. The like-minded energy is the serpent, which is our life force energy. Challenge for today is our ability to plant the seeds. And the hidden power is our hand, which is about accomplishment. Also remember, hand can kill or heal just depending on which way we use it. So we always have to pay attention to what we're going to do. Now we can see our theme here is the monkey. So we're at the fourth position along the way, the timelessness of magic. Because we're looking at everything is related to this theme, the theme of the monkey, magic, playfulness. I like to think of the monkey like Rafiki from The Lion King. Okay, so we're into that realm. And also, remember, we're in the middle pillar here, which is a pillar that's, I like to think of as the magical pillar because it's right smack dab in the middle. Everything revolves around it. Okay, our phrase for today, I define in order to enchant measuring receptivity. I seal the output of timelessness with the self-existing tone of form. I am guided by the power of heart. Over at Space Weather, our solar wind is currently at 374.4 kilometers per second. Planetary K-index is between a 2 and a 5, so there is some sort of activity taking place out there, storm. We see our coronal holes here, nothing directly. We have this lower one and this upper one. Are they sending anything our direction? I don't know because there's a lot of other factors involved. Something is affecting us. We have M-class flare possibilities now up to 80%. X-class is up to 15. Geomagnetic storm at the moment is relatively low, but if we're going to be in a storm range, I'd imagine that's going to be jumping up at some point in time. And the reason being, it says we almost had an X-class flare. Departing sunspot AR 1996 erupted on March 12th, producing an M9 blast that almost crossed into the X territory. The way you know it almost crossed into the X is each one of these only go up to 9, so this is the last before it would have gone into the X. And our numerology for today, let's see, here is a 5. 5 here. Energetic, adventuresome, daring, freedom-loving. They also tend to be versatile, flexible, adaptable, curious, social, sensual, quick-thinking, witty, courageous, and worldly. Negative characteristics, they can be unstable, chaotic, self-indulgent, irresponsible, or careless. They should be aware of consequences of drug abuse and unhealthy sexual tendencies associated with Taurus and the Hierophant. So here's how we came up with this number. Numerology for today, we have 3 for March, 4 is 1 plus 3, 2014 is a 7, so 3 plus 4 plus 7 equals 14, 1 plus 4 is 5. So through the process of theosophic subtraction, we get down to one single number, 5. So 5. If we think of the tree of life, there's a position where 5 is. If we think of numerology, there's a position of 5. If we think of the tarot cards, we have the 5th card. 5th sign of the zodiac. All of these things tie in when you look at the number 5. 5 is a number that has to do with creativity. It has a number to do with our life force energy. It has to do with uncertainty because of not knowing exactly how this energy is put into the world. The secret is we have to allow spirit to be involved in this process. So we have the Hierophant, the spiritual teacher, who understands that in order to make any proper connections to the physical world, we have to connect the spiritual world to it. And that's the ideas behind this card. Okay, listening to the inner teacher for the intuition. And as we listen to that inner teacher, it's very important. Taurus is an earth sign, so it's about practical things. What are the practical things here in the physical world? And the practical thing here is we have to connect this world, the physical world, with the spiritual world. The Hebrew letter Va, nail or hook, has to do with hooking together the worlds, hooking the spiritual and the physical. That's what the spiritual teacher does. Okay? So today's about 5. So take all of the ideas you know about 5 and just kind of keep them in mind as you go throughout the course of the day and see if at any point in time you can recognize where that 5 is showing itself and understand how the numerology associates itself with the number 5. Okay? There you have it. That gets us started for today. UFO News is up next, so stay tuned.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk. Thank you very much. First sighting takes us over to Russia. This is a glowing lighting in triangle formation over Russia on March 10th. There's our triangle up in the sky here. Looks like this guy was taking a late night walk with his wife or girlfriend when he noticed some glowing lights in the distance. If you speak Russian, please let us know in the comments below about what they are saying. This person who posted the video took 2 separate videos of the event and has only 2 videos on YouTube. Okay, these are the objects in question. In the comments translated below are the original YouTube videos. I see there are lots of comments in Russian saying things like, I saw this yesterday in Coloma. Another person saying, I and my whole family were eyewitnesses to this triangle UFO. There are many other comments saying that they also saw the UFO that night. Okay. And as we go through, you can see there's something right out there. This is where we're getting for once we get past this tree lines here. And there we go. Whatever object in question. Just kind of hanging there over the city, and lots of people saw it. Here's another video. What is this? Looks like another, there's some more of the same lights, looks like. Alright, so a couple of videos to check out. See what you think about those. Let's move along. This time we're going to go over to Anaheim, California. The new footage of a strange, bright, unidentified flying object flying across the night sky in Anaheim, also on the 10th. The witness saw some object about 2 weeks ago, but it was gone too fast. Didn't have a chance to take video. However, the video didn't really capture the clarity and brightness of what I saw. I took with my iPhone. I was in my backyard making sure the garage door was locked. Its brightness and speed and its path wasn't consistent. I wasn't sure what it was, but I know what it wasn't. It wasn't anything that I'm used to seeing in the sky. The object appeared bigger and brighter than any star, and smaller than the moon. It hovered, then it made a sudden movement to the side. Hovered, came back, hovered some more, and it looked like it was descending when I lost sight of it. I stood in awe, happy to get the video, but not sure what to make of it. I felt a bit scared when I first saw it. It looked like it was coming at me. It was also weird that it was almost straight up top of my house. It looked like it was descending on my house. Got up on a ladder, but it was gone. Okay. And here we have our orb over Anaheim, blue orb. So let's see here. There we go. Nice big blue orb in the sky. Nice blue when you get into a certain. Alright. Pretty interesting over Anaheim, California. Anaheim's where Disneyland is. Okay, next we have this object crashes through the sky during spectacular Gloucester sunset. Pretty cool shot right there. Mystery objects have been seen high in the sky above Gloucester to put UFO spotters in the area on high alert. Huckletote mum Sarah Jan Saley was out walking in Churchtown on Sunday evening when she caught sight of a mysterious object plummeting towards the earth. Sarah quickly grabbed her camera to record the moment. She said, I didn't think anything of it and took the photo as a general sunset picture. Then my 11-year-old daughter and I realized it was moving. I looked through my camera lens in full zoom and it appeared to have something at the tip of it. It was really clearly visible on a downward descent. The object is spinning and glowing. I took about 15 clear photos in all, with some exactly a minute apart, and you can see how fast it is traveling by the distance it falls in each picture. On one of the pictures there appears to be 2 tails coming from whatever it is. Crazy, although it seems like it's shaped like a claw, and there is something glowing in it. I sent the larger photos to the Met office as I wondered if it was something weather related. They came back and said their forecasters say it is not a weather phenomenon and it looks like something entering the Earth's atmosphere. They suggested I contact the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, which I have, and I'm waiting to hear back. Okay. Well, definitely a cool shot. There's another one right there. So we will see if any results come over this. We'll make sure you know once I see the report. Now here we have a report here, live UFO sightings broadcast on Mexican TV. This is the team conducted a UFO tercermilenio.tv. Surveillance was broadcast live. Part of the great surveillance business. This is tercermilenio.tv. So this is where they're looking for lots of UFOs. It's a 4-minute video. And as you watch, you'll definitely see objects like this one right there. Pretty good size object right smack dab in the middle of the screen. Okay, and here you see we got a couple of more right here. This one's moving. Okay, so we got some good sightings here. Coming over Mexico. Alright, I'm going to move on from here. The link will be available, firstcontactradio.com. How will aliens find us? Well, again, look up and you will see that they have found us. Okay, the spaceships up there means that they have found us, so we don't have to wonder. So whoever wrote the article, look up. Trying to keep a low profile to prevent the aliens from invading? Bad news. Life has actually been broadcasting our existence to the universe for hundreds of millions of years. Have you ever heard these crazy planets send signals deep out into space? What if evil aliens receiving them come to steal our water and enslave, eat, and use us as guinea pigs for their exotic probulators? How can we stop these madmen from announcing our presence to our galaxy? A petition on whitehouse.gov, an all-caps Facebook group, an all-pushing protest? Somebody call Reddit. They'll know what to do. If this is a worry for you and your friends, I got bad news, or possibly good news, depending on which side you come down on. We've already been broadcasting our existence for hundreds of millions of years. If aliens wanted to know we are here, all they needed to do was look through their telescopes. We're in the golden age of extrasolar planet discovery, recently crossing the 1,000-planet marks thanks to Kepler and other space telescopes. With all these amazing planetary candidates, our next challenge will be to study the atmosphere of these planets, searching for the evidence of life. There are chemicals which are naturally occurring like water and carbon dioxide, and there are substances that can only be present if some source is replenishing them. Methane, for example, would only last a few hundred years in the atmosphere if it wasn't for farting cows and colonies of bacteria eating dead things. If we see methane or oxygen in the atmosphere of an extrasolar planet, we'll have a good idea there's life there. And if we see the byproducts of an industrial civilization like air pollution, we can pinpoint exactly where they are in their technological development. It will work for us, and that means it will work for aliens. For the first few billion years, oxygen was toxic, but then cyanobacteria evolved photosynthesis and figured out how to work with oxygen more than 2.4 billion years ago. This is known to us as the Great Oxidation Event. For the first billion years, all the biologically generated oxygen was absorbed by the oceans and the rocks. Once these oceans oxygen sinks fill up, oxygen began accumulating in the atmosphere. By 500 million years ago, there was enough oxygen in the atmosphere to support the kind of breathing we do today. And this much oxygen would have been obvious to the aliens. They would have known that life had evolved here on Earth, and they could have sent out their berserker spaceships to steal our water and made us watch while they ate our small rodents. If the aliens waited, we would have given them more signs. The Industrial Revolution began in the mid-1700s, and this time it was the humans that filled the atmosphere with pollution of our industrial processes. Again, aliens watching the planet with their space telescopes would have known the moment we began a technological civilization. In the 20th century, we harnessed the power of radio transmission and began sending out our messages into space. For about 100 years now, our transmissions have been expanding into a bubble of space, and so any aliens listening within the expanding sphere of space might have a chance of hearing us. They know we're here, and they know some of us really like Keisha. And finally, for the last few decades, a few groups have tried broadcasting messages using powerful radio telescopes directly at other stars. These messages haven't gotten very far, but I honestly wouldn't worry. Life itself gave away our position hundreds of millions years ago, and life will help us find other civilizations if they're out there. What do you think? Should we turn on the lights and pretend like we're not home and keep our activity broadcasting our presence to the universe? Tell us what you think we should do in the comments below. Okay, so, question. Are aliens trying to find us? Again, real simple thing. Look up. If you see a spaceship and you don't think it's one of ours from Earth, guess what? Aliens have found us. They found us a long time ago. We're not hidden. They know we're here, and they've been monitoring us. Remember when we shot off the nuclear blast in '45? They showed up pretty quick, didn't they? They obviously were paying attention to what was going on because we started hearing a lot after then. And then, of course, remember the Black Knight satellite that's been up there, they say, supposedly 13,000 years? They know we're here. They've been monitoring us. We don't have to worry about if they're going to find us. They know we're here. Let's continue on. Next story. These are some videos to watch. I'm not going to play any of them. This first one here is, well, this is a full episode of Hangar 1. This one, from Truman to Obama, our modern-day presidents have all the rich and controversial histories with UFOs and extraterrestrials. In fact, Eisenhower, Nixon, Carter, Reagan are each rumored to have had personal encounters. Inside Hangar 1, MUFON files ask, what do our presidents really know about the existence of UFOs? Are some presidents kept in the dark because they all trusted with the knowledge of how we might use it? Or are they really all aware, but the secrets are too dark and deep that full disclosure becomes a risk they just can't take? So check this out, and then here's one other link. This is another Hangar 1 episode. Could the greatest inventions of the 20th century and beyond potentially be the products of reverse-engineered alien technology? Inside Hangar 1, MUFON files trace mankind's technological boom to the materials reportedly recovered from UFO crashes in the 40s. MUFON investigates allegations of alien engineering from the birth of the transistor in the 50s to military UFOs in the Middle East. Is our modern world built on a foundation of borrowed or stolen technology? Good question. Videos there. So there you go. Got a couple episodes to watch. You've got some information and some videos to check out. A little bit more of the sightings. That's what's going on. They're up there. They're watching. They're down here. They're all part of the same mission. So, seems strange, doesn't it, to live in a world where there's a portion of society who doesn't even understand really what's going on. But I guess that's how it is. You know, if you look at all society, there's a portion that knows what's going on, a portion that doesn't know, and a portion that kind of really doesn't care, sort of in the middle. A friend of mine says that's what world peace is, when you have three groups, 1/3 that is totally into it, 1/3 it isn't, 1/3 it's in the middle, and between the three of them you have balance. So there you have it. All right, that is our UFO news for today. I'm going to jump away for just about a minute, maybe two, and then I'll be back. Stay tuned.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum. Oh, shit.
Bases that are secrets here. We're not supposed to know where they come from or where they go. And if you ask our leaders today, this is what they will say. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. What's up with their lies? Plausible deniability. That's their answer to all we think we see. So
makes a difference if I have the volume turned on, right? Makes a big difference. Okay, continuing on. Lawrence Livermore, scientists make fusion breakthrough. This is a story from last month. Livermore, California. Scientists at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory have taken a major step towards making energy the same way the sun does. The lab's National Ignition Facility is the size of 3 football fields, all to focus a giant wallop of energy on one tiny spot. We're basically recreating a small piece of the sun inside the laboratory, physicist Pravesh Patel said, which has never been done before. The sun creates energy through nuclear fission, squeezing atoms together until they merge into one, giving off massive heat. Science fiction fans probably know that fusion powers the warp drive on the Starship Enterprise. In reality, the inside is dozens of precision lenses focusing laser light so powerful it squeezes a tiny pellet of hydrogen fuel into the atoms start to combine. And now, by carefully adjusting the pattern of that giant pulse of light, scientists have gotten that fuel to start heating itself. You could call it smoldering, the smoke that comes before fire. The achievement is a major step forward towards the ultimate goal of the National Ignition Facility, which is ignition, the nuclear equivalent of getting the fuel to catch fire so it burns on its own. Right now, the fuel's giving off about twice the energy they put into it, but only a tiny bit of the center is actually reacting. Ignition, the so-called Holy Grail, is a chain reaction. That chain reaction will run away and we'll be able to convert most of that fuel into fusion energy, Patel said. Energy equal to pounds of burning coal from a pellet the size of 1 pixel on your TV. It could be an incredible long-term solution to our energy needs. All right, so they're making breakthroughs there, and we'll keep our eyes and ears to the news to see if we hear anything more. And moving on. This one here is about the interior of the Earth. Rare diamond reveals Earth's interior is wet. A battered diamond that survived a trip from hell confirms a long-held theory. Earth's mantle holds an ocean's worth of water. It's actually the confirmation that there's a very large amount of water that's trapped in a really distant layer in the deep Earth, said Graham Patterson, lead study author and geochemist at the University of Alberta in Canada. The findings were published yesterday, the 12th, in a journal of Nature. The worthless-looking diamond encloses a tiny piece of an olivine material called ringwoodite, and it's the first time the mineral has been found on Earth's surface in anything other than the meteorites or the laboratories. Ringwoodite only forms under extreme pressure, such as the crushing load of about 320 miles deep under the mantle. Most of the Earth's volume is mantle. That's the hot rock layer between the crust and the core. Too deep to drill, the mantle's composition is a mystery leavened by 2 clues: meteorites and a hunk of rock heaped upon the volcanoes. First, scientists think the composition of the Earth's mantle is similar to that of meteorites called chondrites, which are chiefly made up of olivine. Second, lava belts by volcanoes sometimes taps the mantle, bringing up chunks of odd materials that hint at the intense heat and pressure olivine endures in the bowels of the Earth. In recent decades, researchers have also recreated mantle settings in laboratories, zapping olivine with lasers, shooting minerals with massive guns, and squeezing rocks between diamond anvils to mimic the Earth's interior. These laboratory studies suggest that olivine morphs into a variety of forms corresponding to the depth at which it is found. The new forms of crystal accommodate the increasing pressures. Changes in the speed of earthquake waves also support this model. Seismic waves suddenly speed up or slow down at certain depths in the mantle. Researchers think these speed zones arise from olivines changing configurations. For example, 323 to 410 miles deep. Between two sharp speeds, olivine is thought to become a ringwoodite, but until now, no one has direct evidence that olivine was actually ringwoodite at this depth. Most people, including me, never expected to see such a sample. Samples from the transition zone and lower mantle are exceedingly rare and only found in a few unusual diamonds. Hans Kepler, a geochemist at the University of Bayreuth in Germany, wrote in a commentary also published in Nature Today. Said the diamond from Brazil confirms that the models are correct. Olivine is ringwoodite at this depth, a layer called the mantle transition zone, and it resolves a long-running debate about water in the mantle transition zone. The ringwoodite is 1.5% water, present not as a liquid but as a hydroxide ions, which is oxygen and hydrogen molecules bound together. The results suggest that there could be a vast store of water in the mantle transition zone, which stretches from 254 to 410 miles deep. It translates into a very, very large mass of water, approaching the sort of mass of water that's present in all the world's oceans, Peterson told Live Science, our amazing planet. Okay? Plate tectonics recycles Earth's crust by pushing and pulling slabs of oceanic crust. Well, there's a lot more. I'm going to leave that to you. But the idea being, they're saying there's a great amount of water down there, as much as the oceans here. Well, that's very interesting. Certainly one of the theories you may have heard of is the hollow earth theory, and that there are a variety of races, 5 different races that live down there, and that there's a sun, and there's an atmosphere, and that there's the oceans and everything just like we have out here. It's just inside. So perhaps there is some truth to that, and perhaps this kind of confirms that idea. Okay. All right, here's another one. This is about black holes. Every black hole contains another universe, claims a new study. In modern science, the prevailing opinion supposes that whatever falls into a black hole disappears forever and breaks apart into component parts. However, a new theory states that black holes do not destroy the matter, but just rather are a kind of exit which leads into other universes like our own. The new theory was developed by George Pullen of the State University of Louisiana and Rodolfo Gambino of the University of the Republic of Uruguay. The two scientists decided to study the predictions of the theory of quantum gravity in black holes. More specifically, they applied the equations of quantum gravity in a non-rotating black hole with spherical symmetry. As described in other theories, as the matter approaches the core of the black hole, the gravitational field becomes more and more powerful, but it does not disappear into a space-time singularity as the prevailing theory states. According to the study results of the two researchers, the matter does not disappear in the middle of the hole, but continues its way up the other end into another universe. Like part of the cosmic Russian doll, our universe may be nested inside a black hole that itself is part of a much larger universe. In turn, all black holes found so far in our universe, from the microscopic to the supermassive, may be doorways into alternate realities. According to the new equations, the matter black holes absorb and seemingly destroys is actually expelled and becomes the building blocks for galaxy stars and planets in another reality. Essentially, every black hole contains a smaller alternate universe, and our universe might just exist inside a black hole of the galaxy in a much larger universe. So with 100 million galaxies in our known universe lies 100 billion universes in the galactic black holes of our universe, with 100 billion more galaxies, each containing another universe with more galaxies, and so on infinitely. The new model isn't the first to propose other universes exist inside black holes. Damien Esan, a theoretical physicist at Arizona State University, has made this speculation in previous studies. What is new here is an actual wormhole solution in general relativity that acts as the passage from the exterior black hole to the new interior universe, which was not involved in a new study. So the idea that black holes are portals to other worlds rather than a place of absolute destruction is not new, but they all stumbled onto space-time singularity. This is the first time when the barrier is bypassed with the help of scientific tools. The results of the study were published in the Journal of Physical Review Letters. All right. How about that? Science has figured out something Star Trek is known for quite some time and other shows, that black holes lead someplace. We've known this, right? We've talked about folding time and all these other things, going through wormholes. Little by little, science is catching up to what we intuitively know from our time out in the solar system, because we're not from here. And so when we go into our memory banks and we remember who we are, where we're from, we remember things like outer space and how we're connected to the cosmos. You know, while we're on the cosmos, did you see that new special the other night, Cosmos, with Neil deGrasse? Is that his name, Neil deGrasse? I saw a little bit of it. At one point in time, I don't know, I lost interest because it seemed like a pretty good show, but then I started hearing some of the typical propaganda, and it just, I don't know. If you want to learn, you just got to not trust some of those channels because they just don't tell you everything that's going on. And then I was looking in the forum, and people were saying, if there was a first contact moment, who would you want to send? And somebody said, well, how about this guy? It's like, well, this guy just came on the scene with this, and he does one show, and the propaganda works that well that now you want to send him to be your emissary? Kind of weird. Kind of weird. All right. Now, every day, every morning, we start off the show, and I do something from the dream spell. And some of you may be wondering, what is this dream spell? Sounds like the Mayan calendar. Thought the Mayan calendar was over. Thought December 21st, nothing happened. Well, something did happen. We went on from the 21st to the 22nd. We continued on as we were supposed to. The Mayan calendar is not a system or a calendar that on that particular day ended and stopped counting. The date of December 21st was just a day pulled out from the calendar and just given significance. However, the calendar itself keeps going. The days keep moving along. And the calendar is based on the cycles of the sun and the moon. Now, when we look at the calendar, how it's changed over the year, we realize that there has been some opportunities where some miscalculations could have occurred, because we have this calendar system that we use now, the Gregorian calendar, and we go through and we count these things called leap years. We have a period of 12 months that we follow. None of the months are equal in days. We have 31 days, we have 30 days, we have 28, and then every 4 years we have a 29th day. When we look at the Mayan calendar, we have 13 periods of time, 13 moons, and each one is 28 days long. If you were to take those 12 months and you were to add up all of those extra days past 28, guess what? It would make an extra month of 28 days, and you would see that the cycle is inherent within there. So the cycle of the Mayan calendar, or the Mayan calendar, has been used, but it's been adapted in many different ways and changed, and so the Gregorian calendar we use is nowhere even close. But Jose Arguelles, he came along onto the scene, and he, through his studies, became to notice that there was something that was off a little bit. That the Mayan calendar, as good as it was, as the system was following along, keeping track of the dates, that because of the influence of Western civilization, that it got off track. And that these leap years and everything needed to be recalibrated. And so he did this recalibration, and that's what this dream spell is about. It's a recalibration according to what he experienced from his studies of this. Now, after and through this process, there were a number of times where he talks about confirmations that he received from various elders that were letting him know he was moving in the right direction. So that's what this is all about. So this is the organization. It's called the Law of Time. And I think it's very important. I think that the work of Jose is very important, and what we've learned and what he has to say about the changes are all very important. Okay, so go over here and we're going to look at 13 moon calendar length. Okay, this is the one where it talks about exactly what I say. 13 moons. Let me read it. 13 moon, 28-day calendar is a new standard of time for all people everywhere who desire a genuinely new world. If the calendar and the time we follow is irregular, artificial, and mechanized, so becomes our mind. And as our mind, so our world becomes, as our world today, irregular, artificial, mechanized. But if the calendar we follow is harmonic and in tune with natural cycles, so also will our mind become, and we will return to a way of life more spiritual and in harmony with nature. The 13-moon calendar synchronizes solar and galactic cycles on July 26th, correlating with the star Sirius. Each of the 13 moons has a power, action, and a quality which defines an annual program to synchronize our consciousness with the galactic cycles. As a perfect measure of cosmic time, the calendar is actually a synchronometer, an instrument for measuring synchronicity. Followed daily, it gives us a new lens in which to perceive events. In the new time, synchronicity is the norm. The 13 moon 28-day synchronometer is a harmonic time-space matrix. It takes the moon 28 days to orbit the Earth. It makes the orbit 13 times each year. The standard measure is the 28-day cycle called the moon because it is the median between the 29.5-day synodic cycle of the moon, that's the new moon to the new moon, and the 27.1-day sidereal cycle of the moon. Hence, it is the measure of the Earth's solar orbit using the 28-day lunar standard. This creates a perfect orbital measure of 13 moons of 28 dates, totaling 364 days or 52 perfect weeks of 7 days each. Because the 365th day is no day of the moon or week at all, it is known as a day out of time, to celebrate peace through culture, and time is art. Okay, and then here from Jose's book, the 13 moon calendar is an evolutionary tool to assist humanity in the unprecedented act of uniting itself on the one issue central to its complete well-being, time. The harmonic convergence of humanity on this one issue, combined with the inescapable order, perfection, and simplicity of following the 13 moon calendar, will lift the species as a simultaneous whole into the galactic timing frequency of 1320. 1320 being the timing frequency of the Earth, that we are coded according to the cycles of the 13 moons and the frequencies of the suns, 20 solar frequencies. So what we have here is something very important. We talk about the mind, right? How important the mind is. But if the mind is disorganized, then the mind is not going to be as efficient as it could be if it is more organized. What this Mayan calendar, what this dream spell calendar is about helping to organize the mind. Because the first thing it recognizes is natural cycles. Natural cycles. We aren't on a daily basis reminded to follow the natural cycles. We're following our Gregorian calendar, which is not based on any cycles. So the mind is not being acclimated to following something of a natural nature. We're used to following this erratic schedule. Okay? And through the erratic schedule, we have found a way to make sense of it, but nonetheless, it's an erratic schedule because it doesn't follow the natural cycles. So when we look at the dream spell, we're following natural cycles. Cycles of the sun, cycles of the moon, the two lights that we see every day in the sky that affect our lives. So as we follow these natural cycles, and we find that there is some harmony in the way that they are laid out and they move from day to day to day, we find that there's a bit more harmony with ourselves because we find that the synchronicities that occur in life happen a little bit more often once we're paying attention to them. It's like once you see something, you notice it's there, you keep seeing it. And that's the idea, to keep seeing the synchronicities. One thing about this on the calendar is the Gregorian calendar has a reset point of January 1st, right? New Year's Day. Well, on the dream spell calendar, there's a July 25th and 26th are 2 days. One of them is like a New Year's Eve, and one of them is like a New Year's Day. Except New Year's Day doesn't count as a day. It's an extra day because it takes the Earth 365 days to revolve around the sun. During that time, the moon has its cycles, and it goes through 13 cycles, each one 28 days roughly in length. That's 364 days. That means there's one day left, and that is this day of time. And the day out of time comes every year. July 25th is this day out of time. It comes around same point, and it's a time where we take off. We say the previous year has ended. Let's see where we're at today, where we've been, and where we're going. And then the next day begins the new year. And that way we always have that moment to stop, because God is a rest and a movement, okay? And so we want to get used to the idea of following a natural cycle, to looking at life and understanding things are moving a little different. Now, in the past, it said that we weren't on a 365-day cycle. We were on a 360-day cycle around the sun. And that as we get back to our natural cycles, we'll be getting back to that. And that the process is getting us more and more in tune with what we used to be. But we're really out of whack. For all of us who are following the Mayan calendar, it's really not. So on a daily basis, when I read off this information, it's coming and has its origin here in the law of time. This is what it's all about. It's about understanding. So at the beginning, all of the different information I give is to help understand, okay? And if you want to understand deeper what all of this means, here, like if we click on the 13 moon calendar, it gives us all the basics. What the calendar is, what the other, why it's different from the Gregorian calendar. You have information on how it works, different cycles within the calendar itself, natural cycles of time. Each month has a different, or moon has a different day assigned to it, again according to the numbers. One is the magnetic moon, the number 1, the magnetic tone. So it doesn't matter if it's the first day or the first moon, it's 1. And so each of these meanings, we have 13 different moons going on right here. Okay, and you can see it's all part of the grid of the Zolkin that I show you every day, which is one of the calendars of the Mayan calendar system. Alright, and then as it keeps going down, more tie-ins. Okay, and then if we also we want to look at cosmic history. This is a good page here. This is some really good videos if you want to check them out. What is cosmic history? This is information Jose put together. You can see it's Book of the Cube. All he's getting into is information about energy. Jose was really good at understanding and looking at the energy around us, and he came from a background in art and was able to apply that perspective of the artist into the workings of the universe. And out of it came this phrase, time is art. And so anyone who's an artist understands the concept of time is art, or they should, because their artistry becomes something that is timeless. And that's what the idea is. And if we look around in the world, we see the timelessness of the great artists all over the place. That great artist is God. Whatever you want to recognize as that creative force of the universe, that is the great artist. Just look around at what we have. So there you have it. That's what I read in the mornings, and there's the link available. It's on the website. It's on the right-hand column. The Law of Time. And there you go. All right, story here from Monsanto. It says Monsanto finally introduces new strains of food that are not genetically modified. This is a victory. A minor victory. Monsanto is a name that is synonymous with big agriculture and, more importantly, genetically modified organisms, otherwise known as GMOs. The company's Roundup herbicide, which is used almost exclusively around the world, has been blamed for the development of resistant superweeds that are filling up farmers' fields in the U.S. and abroad. And speaking of farmers, Monsanto is also synonymous with the term lawsuit. as in the company protects its licensed seeds the way a mother and father protect a child. More than a few farmers have been hauled into court for reusing Monsanto's brand seeds from one year to the next in violations of the company's trademark. But what Monsanto is known best for is its creation of GM crops and foods. There's hardly a hectare or acre of soybeans of corn whose seeds have not come from the GMO labs at Monsanto. Now, however, as consumers have become increasingly leery of genetically altered food, and as some nations have even banned the growth and sale of some GM crops, Monsanto has finally developed new produce that has not been genetically modified one iota, as reported by Wired magazine recently. Changing the agricultural game is what Monsanto does, so it's not particularly surprising that the company is introducing novel strains of familiar food crops, invented at Monsanto's and endowed by their creators with powers and abilities far beyond what you normally see the produce section. The lettuce is sweeter and crunchier than romaine and has stay fresh quality of iceberg. The peppers come in miniature, single serving sizes to reduce leftovers. The broccoli has 3 times the usual amount of glucophorine, a compound that helps boost antioxidant levels. Stark development, the Global Trade Division came up with all of them. Grocery stores are now looking at the produce aisle for something that pops, that feels different. Monsanto executive Ken Avery told the magazine, and consumers are looking for the same thing. So, it goes on, says, if you are correct, they will know soon enough, because Monsanto is set to introduce Frascata lettuce, Bellafina peppers, and Bellaforte broccoli, and nary one of them has been genetically modified. Okay. They also plan to introduce type of melon, watermelon, and onion. Here's some evidence or some info down there. So that's good. You know, all of the protesting and the complaining and, you know, people talking about the problems of Monsanto seem to be having some positive effects if they're out there creating something that doesn't have GMOs. So good. See, people can make a difference. Earthlings can make a difference just by stepping up and speaking about important matters. You know the saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, so all we got to do is be the squeaky wheel, and eventually we get greased. All right, here is a message for today, the High Council of Orion.
Question your feelings, channeled ascension message from the High Council of Orion.
March 11th, 2014, channeled by Holly Hawkins Marwood, transcribed by Paul Marwood.
Greetings, dear ones. We are the High Council of Orion. We are aware, can see, feel and understand the level of change that many of you are experiencing on the planet. That change can come through in ways that are not always very comfortable. Would you agree? While this might seem a little basic, we are going to remind you this is a temporary energetic on your planet. It will not be the continuing energetic, yet during change and transformation very often the energies can feel uncomfortable. They can feel confusing. They can bring you to areas and territories where you did not know you were going to be. When you're in that place of unknown territory, it's hard to have your bearings, it's hard to know what to do next, it's hard to not feel uncertain about what actions to take, what to think and how to behave. We invite you today to tune into a different energetic resonance when you are in those moments of uncertainty, fear, panic, unknowing, hurt, feeling cast adrift, whatever it might be, to ask yourself a very simple question. Before we tell you what the question is, the reason it's important to ask this question is because in the asking the energy begins to shift. The energetic field that has become compressed or tight as a result of the uncertainty in which you find yourself as a result of the change and transformation creates a barrier, creates a wall, creates an impediment for you to see what direction to move, what's on the other side, whatever it might be. Asking the question that we will share with you in a moment shifts the energetic resonance to allow new information to come in. The questions become this: what would my life look like and how would I act? How would I think, if I weren't afraid? What would I do if I did not feel betrayed? What would I do if I was successful right in the here and now? How would I feel, right now, if I felt loved? How would I feel if I trusted? What would I do? How would I act if I trusted, loved, felt secure, whatever it might be. As you're asking yourself this question, allow yourself to really be in a relaxed state of breathing, allow and envision the energies of your body to feel as if they have movement that accompanies your breath. As you ask yourself these very important questions, and you're shifting your energetic field, we ask you to be in a place of allowing and not expecting, in that moment, everything to be different. Yet allowing for new information to come in, allowing for a different point of view, allowing for an openness to what you would call as the synchronicities or the magic in life, when suddenly there is that phone call with the right information, the piece of information that you see on the computer or in the newspaper, the synchronicity of running into the right person at the right time. The magic of finding that piece of paper that you've been looking for that was so important, finding out that what you understood about the other people who you might have felt hurt or betrayed by was simply a misunderstanding. Whatever it is, whatever you are seeking, we ask that you allow the shift in the energies to occur first without immediately expecting a response. As you begin to open yourself up and open your energetic field up with this simple method of questioning, and you apply it to any area of your life, in any moment of your life, you will be amazed to see the changes that can happen. We will give you a few examples. What if something happened in your day where you felt very angry in the moment? You felt justified in your anger. You felt frustrated. At the same time, you were feeling angry and disappointed with yourself for feeling angry. As you know, sometimes you get into a spiral where you can't even find your way out of the feeling, sometimes even enough just to think that you wished you didn't have that feeling. Sometimes you're in a spiral where you say,
I really wish I didn't feel this, but I certainly do.
Pretending your way out of feeling that energetic resonance of the anger in the moment isn't often successful. What we will share with you is if you just open up your field of energy to say,
what would it feel like right now if I wasn't angry? What would it feel like if the anger was serving me in a particular way? What would I do right now if I were the opposite of angry and was completely happy right now? What would it feel like if I never got upset with what just happened? What would it feel like if I didn't need to react to that other person?
Whatever it might be. As you can imagine your way into our example, you can see that the desire in the moment is not necessarily for a different point of view. The questioning of what it would feel like and what you would do on the flip side of whatever it is you're experiencing shifts your energies enough to allow for another point of view, a different experience, perhaps even insight into patterns you have, or even ways you empower yourself, in this example, with a negative emotion. All that awareness and understanding is wonderful and good, and again, helps shift your energetic resonance, allows it to move. To give you a couple more examples, what if you didn't need to feel betrayed? How would you feel if you felt unconditionally loved by all the people around you? How would you behave if love was the only thing you experienced in your life? How would you act if the actions of that other person didn't get under your skin and didn't hurt? How would you feel if you understood what was motivating that other person and so you did not need to react? We invite you to play with this experience of asking the questions relative to how you felt in the moment, how you would feel, how you would act, how you think if the opposite were true. Just observe. Have fun with this, as we often say. We will also add that you should be prepared for some incredible insights, some wonderful shifts, for these simple questions help bring you back into an energetic resonance where you feel more comfortable, more peaceful, more understanding, more understood, more loving and more loved. Have fun. Be playful with this. Have your journal nearby, for you'll want to jot down some of your aha moments that come as a result of this. Be blessed. We are the High Council of Orion.
Alright. Remember in Star Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi said, Luke, stretch out with your feelings, Luke. Well, that's what we need to do. Stretch out with our feelings. Stretch out with our feelings. That's what it's all about. Throughout the universe, you got all of these emotions around us. Energy, feelings, and if we use those to interact with this field of energy, we can make a difference. So let's focus on that today as we go through. Let's do our meditation. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and exhale. Take another deep breath, and exhale again. Let's contemplate the words of this affirmation. On the soul level, I release all fear of failure. On a soul level, I release all fear of failure. And with that, ask yourself the question, what does it feel when all of the failure is gone? What does it feel like to succeed? And just allow yourself to contemplate this idea, these feelings. Let's imagine what it feels like to have success in life. Imagine these feelings and know that through this imagining we're able to bring forth into existence that what we imagine. So stretch out your feelings. Stretch out your feelings to experience more of the world around you. Imagine energy reaching off of you, reaching out into the universe for understanding. And as these energies reach off of you, as you stretch your feelings, you bring back more of the universe. You begin to understand more by asking more questions. And as we begin to ask more questions, we realize that the questions that are asked on a daily basis on Earth are not enough to really push us forward. We need to take that extra step. We need to go inside ourselves to our inner teacher to maintain our connection to life, to the spiritual aspect of life. As we go forth this day, let us remember the lesson of the Hierophant, the spiritual teacher, who reminds us that we must always hook together the spiritual with the physical. For that is how we operate the most efficient and practical way down in this earth. So imagine yourself going through life today, feeling good, feeling happy, and just asking questions of life. How would this feel if this was different? How would I feel if I was happy about this situation? Whatever it might be, just imagine yourself going through life. And let your subconscious mind continue on that journey. And let your conscious mind be aware of the moments during the day when you can ask this simple question of yourself and contemplate what it means. So let it yourself go on this journey today, exploring your feeling, exploring how you might feel if you looked at the ways and the energies of life in a different perspective. Stretch out your feelings. So let your subconscious mind continue on that journey of stretching out its feelings. And let's bring our conscious mind back to the present moment, ever aware of the subconscious mind on its journey, and ready and willing when the subconscious mind brings forth new information to act. So let's bring our conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale. And open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That's our show for today. All the links are available at firstcontactradio.com. Just take all this information from today and just kind of put it all in one ball and just see how it all relates, because it all does. It all does go over to the Law of Time, visit there. It'll help you understand a little bit more about what it is that I'm doing and why I think it's so important. And I think as you look at it, you'll see the importance as well. Have an awesome day. I'll be back tomorrow with more news and information. Love and light to each one of you. Peace. I'm out of here.